And our final presenter today is Jay Stiles, who is the Director of VDOT's Business Performance and Strategic Planning. Where he co-leads the Business Transformation Office and is responsible for the department's performance program, to include its dashboard, VDOT's dashboard, and most recently, the Smart Scale dashboard. And previously, Jay has also been the program manager in VDOT's IT division and a performance analyst at VDOT and the Virginia Retirement System. Jay, welcome.
Thank you. So I guess from that, my presentation is going to be a little bit different than the rest because I don't have the traffic focus. We're really looking more out the whole department wide focus on what is the performance with the department here. So just to kind of give you what we've got to manage our performance across the department, we've got a suite of tools that we've developed, both internally and externally. We've had our VDOT dashboard since 2003. And it's been past time for a refresh. That's kind of our next project that we're going to be working on. Most recently, what we launched, and I'll talk a little bit about this today, is our Smart Scale dashboard that gets into our newest set of projects that's been approved in Virginia through the Smart Scale Project Prioritization System, which I'll talk a little bit about. Explains how we've kind of taken some of the politics out of which projects get selected. Then at the bottom there, I'll touch on some of those. We've got a suite of tools that we use internally to manage and push accountability down throughout the department through these tools. And I'll touch a little bit about those today. So I'm going to start off here very early on back because of the question that speaker this morning did a very good job of. That she asked, first question we always want to ask is why? Why are we doing this? And this is why we do all of this. And it goes all the way back 15 years ago to where the department was not in a good place. And this just kind of spells it out where we were a mess. We were a mess. We didn't know how our projects were doing. We did not have a definition of, just from a project manager's perspective, what was on time, what was on budget. Prevailing refrains there, cost what it costs, it'll be finished when it's finished. I saw a division administrator say that to our commissioner, and he was no longer a division administrator after that. So these are the type of, it was just a major culture shift in coming in and the way people thought they were doing a good job, but they weren't meeting the expectations of the public. They were very focused on, we're going to give the highest quality product at whatever we can, whatever it takes. But the public wants to know when the road's going to be done. When am I getting this road? Why does it take 15 years to plan a road to expand a lane? It shouldn't take that long. So that was the public perception, and that line from the Washington Post is. It's kind of my job is to make sure that never happens again. VDOT is in shambles with little credibility left either inside or outside the agency. Who wants to have that comment about their agency in the paper? Who has had that comment about their agency in the paper? It's not where you want to be. So I just kind of put that up there because this is why we do all of this, is to make sure that whatever we put out to the public and public information, that we're maintaining our credibility through transparency, and we're pushing accountability throughout the department, so that we never get back to this situation. So, VDOT dashboard. So, how many folks are familiar with this? I don't know, just to kind of, because I know we've got a okay, good. So a lot of people are familiar with this. We started this off with just a few key things that we wanted to focus on here, and we haven't really touched this in 10 years. I mean, and we're getting to the point where we've got to, because it's just getting kind of old and brittle, and technology has moved on and it hasn't. But the key here was just focusing on a few key things, and then give the public an overview level, which is what we do on this screen here, and then you can drill down to the level you want, and try to make it very easy for folks to understand at the level that you want to understand it. So we've got here, and this is expanded out from the original one. These are our focus areas here. Across the top, highway performance, safety, which is number of deaths, the condition of the system, which is pavements and bridges, finance, how well are we doing the spending plan versus actual. And then across the bottom, the VDOT management dial, which really needs to be updated. And there are citizen survey results and our projects down at the bottom. How are we doing bringing projects in one time and on budget? So those are the key things that we wanted to keep in front of people and keep in front of ourselves in terms of how do we want to manage the agency. So just to give you, if you're familiar with it, these are just some screenshots of how you can drill into it. If you click on any of those, you get your high-level view of, and it's kind of hard to see on the screen, your one-time or one-budget measures where you can see the number of projects, and then you can click on those numbers and you get the list, and then you click on that. If you really want to go further, you can get the project details all the way down to a map of the project. And if you want to know who the project manager is for VDOT, we've got their email and their phone number on there. If you want to know who the contractor is, we've got their name on there as well too. So you can really get just as much information as you're comfortable getting, really drilling down into this. And this has worked well for us. I think this has really helped us. Feedback we've gotten is that, especially from our stakeholders in the General Assembly, that it gives them a place when they get questions, so they can send people over to the dashboard for project information. They can look it up very easily themselves. So it's worked very well for us. So we use that, and then in addition to that, we drill down and have some internal meetings here. And we've developed some reports here for some very specialized kind of views here for these internal meetings. So in order to keep that pressure on, you've got to have the dashboard, but then you've got to have the management tools that go with it. And this is about culture change. And so we've had really, when the dashboard was put into place, we just didn't put it up and walk away. We've had some form of a monthly or quarterly meeting going with all the agency leadership, which is about 200 folks since that time. So what we've got, and the one on the left there, the district performance report, that shows, and we call this the bingo card. And this was done for a very specific purpose. The chief engineer asked for, he wanted a list of all the measures that he wanted to see, going down the list, what's for statewide performance, and then he wants to see how all his 9 districts are doing. He wanted it all on one page. And so this is what we came up with. So you can very easily see, if you've got, those are districts going down the columns there, which ones have a lot of green and which ones have a lot of red there. And then you can look through across the rows and see that row there that's got the most red. That is actually our Smart Scale project set. We'll talk about it in a minute. That's the newest one that was just added, so we've got a little bit of work to do there. But they use this and they focus on these things and trying to bring these and try to get them green. And so it really kind of puts it out there for everyone to see very easily. One of the criticisms that we had was that we've had that report for a while, and then most recently we didn't have anything for central office divisions, because the central office supports our districts, and they had some key things for every one of the measures. So we did a similar thing for the central office. It's just that it looks a little different because we don't have 9 versions of the same division, so it just goes in unless each division has a certain set of measures there. So really trying to break down these silos by getting this information out there so people can really see how they're performing and focusing on the right areas, to the pain points in an organization. So let's talk a little bit about Smart Scale Dashboard. We just launched this in January. Is anybody familiar with Smart Scale at all? We got maybe 1 or 2? Okay. So Smart Scale in Virginia, we've passed, it's our project prioritization system. And this was passed by our General Assembly to try to pull the politics out of which projects get selected. So projects have to go in, you apply for it kind of like on a grant basis. You send in localities will put in an application. They're scored and ranked on criteria, safety, congestion, environmental impacts, that sort of thing. And then based on the score and their cost-benefit ratio, then they get funded. The key difference here is they are fully funded, which in Virginia, this has been a huge issue with funding being started and stopped, and these projects going on for years because there's only partial funding on it. So now these projects are fully funded. Well, the expectation is now is they're looking at us and say, okay, VDOT, you've complained about the money not being there. The money's there. Deliver these projects and deliver them now. And so this they wanted a separate dashboard for the smart scale projects to track these and make sure we're delivering these. And our commissioner said he wants all of these projects. In Virginia, we have a 6-year plan for funding transportation projects. And he wants, which typically, you would think, it's a 6-year lookout, right? He wants them all, from the year it begins in the plan, he wants it constructed by the end of the 6th year. So that's soup to nuts from going from a concept to traffic on the street in 6 years. For an agency that's been looking at doing this for 10, 15, 20 years in some cases to get these projects to fruition, that's going to be a challenge. But we've got the money in place here. So with that, because we've got new challenges here, we need some new business rules. So we're raising the bar here. We are trying to be a little bit more predictive as we go into these. Before we've been looking at just did we get a project advertised on time, did we get it out on the street, and then once it was out on the street, did it get constructed on time? Now we're going to drill into that a little bit more. We're going to be looking at milestones. If you're approaching a milestone, then you're going to be, instead of just being, if you get within this kind of warning track range, I guess, maybe your milestone is coming up and you're not done. It's not due yet, but if you get within a certain range, usually about 30 days of it being due, you're going to go yellow. And so that's a big change for our folks because now they're not really late, but because they're not early, they're going to go yellow like this. So then if they get it done one time, they go back to green. So that's been a big shift here because we're trying to encourage this kind of early start and early finish of activities. Because if we know from experience, if we plan to deliver it on the day that it's due, it's going to be late. So we want to make sure that we're delivering this early so that we know when we make our dates. So just some screenshots here. We start out with a very high-level view of the program. And again, just like we had on the old dashboard, you can drill into this a little bit further and get a list, and then finally the project details page. One of the things, too, with this is all, so this is done in JavaScript D3, and it's optimized to work on your phone. So you can go out there. It's not an app, but it's a mobile-enabled website. You can go out and just search on it and pull it down on your phone and get your, the favicon, to put on your phone desktop. And it's actually optimized to work on a phone. So that was kind of challenging in terms of trying to develop it because that was new for us. It's a lot of data to put into a phone, but I think we've made it work pretty well. So just some lessons learned overall here is just kind of keep it simple. We want to try to, whether it's the visualization or the metrics that we're showing, we want to try to keep it simple. There's a difference between a tool that we would use and a visualization we use for something like this and an analysis tool, which a lot of what I'm seeing are great analysis tools. But when we take it and we want to go public with it, how do we roll that up and make it something that's very easy to understand? It shouldn't take the average person very long to decipher it. That's why we try to use a lot of very simple stoplights, target gauges, that sort of thing. So focusing, keeping the number of measures small, trying to utilize new tools, and making sure that we've got good data quality on it. That's a constant check, is making sure that people, on the project end, that entering the data, understand how it's going to be shown and displayed in the system. So, and just kind of keep it out there and keep the focus on. That's really the big key, is just making sure that we keep that focus throughout the organization, that everybody understands that the impacts and the actions that they have in the project have that impacts of overall view of what goes on the dashboard and ultimately the view of how people perceive the department. With that, any questions? Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Questions for Jay?
How did you make the switch from
Well, so that slide I put up there, we've got a new commissioner at the time to fix all of that, and it was definitely a top-down. The commissioner, Philip CATT, came in, and he had of course, he has a reputation for coming in and fixing organizations that need fixing, and he came in and fixed it. And it was very interesting, the conversations that we had and the pushback that we had around some of that. For example, from staff, yeah, because for example, like I mentioned, we didn't have a definition of what's the time. A lot of people wanted to use our contract extensions. So whenever we just write ourselves a contract, work order, whenever we need extensions, we said, no. We promised them, the public, on this date, and we're going to hold them to that. And by the way, we're going to do fixed date contracts every day. And so those are two huge shifts, because before we were doing calendar days, and basically what that meant was that if it's raining today, we're not going to count that against the contract. So that's been a big shift. We pushed a lot of that risk over to the contractors community to get that done. So yeah, but a lot of that came from the top.
Do you have any Washington Post quotes now? Any current ones?
Our current ones is to try to stay out of the news. So. When we did the Smart Scale dashboard, I went over and presented it to Virginia General Assembly South Transportation, and the speaker was very nice, like, yeah, and VDOT's got another great dashboard thing they want to show us, and which was great. In the comments, we got like, we're great, we can give this to our constituents. Thank you, move on. It was a non-issue, non-event, which is just the way we like it. So,
So one more question.
How do you enforce or ensure that the engineers or managers are actually inputting the data system?
So, interestingly, if the best way we found to do that is that we have a rule that if there is critical missing data missing, which means we don't have enough to do the calculation, it goes red. So, and that gets people's attention. And
Someone comes knocking.
yeah, someone comes knocking. And, we have it, and we've got another rule. The estimates have to be updated at least once a year, and we back that off. But if the estimate isn't updated at least once a year, and if we're moving these projects through now, especially in the smart scale, there shouldn't be any excuse for that, because you should be clicking along. But it will go yellow. Yeah, we won't call it red, but we'll call it yellow in that case. But that gets people's attention. So you have to. But you're right. You have to keep that focus on there. Yeah.